The galaxy was at peace, or at least, that is what the alien fleets believed. Their patrol ships drifted through the cold void, sensors scanning empty space, engines humming softly. For years, they had grown used to silence. For years, they had laughed at the idea of humans. Humanity was a ghost story, nothing more. Ancient ruins, forgotten colonies, fragments of burned-out worlds, that was all that remained, or so they thought. But then, silence turned into terror. It began with a flicker on the sensors, a blip. At first, the alien commanders dismissed it, a meteor, a drifting wreck, some anomaly from the nebula storms. But the blip grew larger, stronger. The readings became impossible to ignore. The crew stared at their screens, confused, and then out of the dark it appeared, a shadow. At first, it looked like a moon, a massive shape sliding out from behind the veil of stars. But the more they looked, the less sense it made. Moons do not move like predators. Planets do not stalk, and yet this shape did. The alien bridge fell into silence. Their hearts pounded in fear. They whispered to each other, "What is that? Is it a station, a fortress?" The commander narrowed his eyes. His mandibles twitched nervously. "No, it's a ship." And in that moment, the entire fleet understood it was human. The word passed like a spark of lightning. Human, a word buried in their archives. A word that once meant fire, war, and unstoppable will. The word every alien empire feared centuries ago, when humans roamed the stars. And now, after generations of silence, the word was alive again. The battleship slid forward, slow, deliberate, as if the void itself was afraid to touch it. Its surface was scarred, dark, ancient yet. Every line of its design spoke of strength. Alien officers who had faced 1,000 wars felt their stomachs twist, for this was not a ship of peace. It was built for destruction. The commander ordered, "Magnify the view." The main screen filled with the image of the human battleship. It was larger than any alien dreadnought. Engines burned like dying stars, cannons massive and brutal. Its hull, its armor plates carried marks of old battles, but none of them had pierced through. This was a survivor. This was a predator. One alien whispered, almost trembling, "But humans are extinct. We saw their colonies burn. We destroyed their fleets." Another answered, "If they are gone, then who is inside that ship?" The commander said nothing. His eyes stayed locked on the silent monster drifting toward them. The ship did not hail. It did not broadcast. It simply watched the alien fleet tightened their formation. Ships moved, closer, ready to defend. But deep inside, none of them wanted to be the first to fire. They remembered the old stories. Stories told to frighten young warriors before battle. Stories of humans who fought even when outnumbered, who turned dead worlds into fortresses, who never surrendered. The battleship loomed closer. Its shadows stretched across the stars. The alien crew felt small tiny insects before a beast that had crawled out of legend. On the homeworlds, news spread quickly. Holographic councils gathered. Leaders shouted at each other in fear and disbelief. The image of the battleship was replayed again and again. Some demanded it be destroyed before it could act. Others shook their heads, whispering that such a thing was impossible. One elder spoke the words that froze them all. "The galaxy has forgotten the humans, but the humans have not forgotten the galaxy." Back in the void, the alien commander clenched his fists. "Scan for life signs," he ordered. The sensors worked. The results came back, and what they showed made every heart freeze. There were thousands of humans inside that ship, alive, awake, watching. The bridge fell silent. The commander felt his throat tighten. He remembered the last war, the one his ancestors had fought. He remembered the warnings passed down. If ever you see their ships, again do not provoke them, do not test them, for their patience is long, but their wrath is longer. Still, fear pushed him forward. He whispered to his officers, perhaps it is old, perhaps they are weak now, but even as he said it, he did not believe it, because the ship's very presence crushed that hope. The battleship's lights flickered once. A pulse of energy rippled across space. Alien ships scrambled in panic, thinking it was an attack. But no fire came, no weapons discharged. The human vessel only drifted closer, until its cannons aimed directly at the alien fleet. The message was clear. The humans had returned, and they did not need words. The void itself seemed to tremble, as if the stars remembered what had been forgotten. The alien commander stood frozen, at his station, staring at the ship that should not exist. His voice was barely a whisper when he said the words, "They are back." The alien fleet held its ground, but silence spread across their ships like a disease. Every officer, every soldier, every technician stared at the colossal shadow filling their screens. The human battleship moved with such calm, such confidence, that it felt less like a ship and more like a predator circling prey. The commander of the alien fleet clenched his claws. His voice cracked when he spoke. Transmit a message. Demand identification. The communications officer obeyed. A signal burst across the void, translated into every known code of diplomacy. But there was no reply, no words, no symbols, only silence, and that silence was worse than any threat. The crew shifted nervously, whispering among themselves. Some believed the ship was empty, a ghost vessel piloted by old machines. Others swore they had seen movement behind the darkened windows, human shapes, watching with cold patience. The commander turned his gaze back to the massive screens. The battleship drifted closer, but not in a rush. It moved as if time belonged to it, as if the galaxy itself had to adjust to its return. One young officer trembled. Why don't they answer? The commander spoke with a low growl. Because they do not need to. His words spread across the bridge like poison dot in distant systems. The news reached alien worlds. Holograms of the ship flickered in markets, in palaces, in war councils. Civilians gaped at the sight. Warriors whispered oaths they had sworn never to speak again. Elders bowed their heads in dread, remembering the old wars, when humanity's fleets swept across star systems with unstoppable fury. The galaxy had thought the humans extinct. They had counted themselves safe. But now, safety had turned to a lie. Back on the fleet's flagship, another officer spoke in a shaking voice. "Commander, shall we open fire?" The words hung heavy in the air. Every soldier on the bridge looked at their leader, waiting for his decision. But the commander knew the truth. To fire would mean war. To fire would awaken something the galaxy had spent centuries burying. Still, fear gnawed at him. What if he did nothing, and this ship carried doom? What if it was the first of many? Before he could answer, the battleship shifted. Its engines flared, brighter than before, and it rotated with slow precision until its front cannons pointed directly at the alien flagship. The crew gasped. Some nearly fled their posts. It was not a random movement. It was not drifting. The humans had aimed. The commander's chest tightened. He felt every beat of his heart like thunder. "Hold position," he ordered, though his own voice trembled. The ship remained locked on them, silent, patient, and then it began. The alien fleet detected something. Not weapons fire, but transmissions. Strange, encrypted signals flooding across the stars. They weren't calls for peace. They weren't threats. They weren't coordinates. The humans were sending messages, not to the aliens, but to someone else. Someone far away. A cold realization struck the commander. They are not alone. The battleship's silence was not weakness. It was communication. The humans were calling others, summoning allies, summoning more ships. The alien officers paled. Panic rose in their voices. If this is only one ship, how many more are coming? The commander slammed his fist against the console. Quiet. But deep inside, even he could not deny the truth. They were watching the return of a storm hours past. The battleship did not attack, but it did not leave either. It drifted closer until its shadow consumed their fleet. The alien ships, though numerous, looked like insects compared to it. On the bridge, the youngest officer spoke again, his voice breaking. "Commander, if they wanted to destroy us, they would have done it already." The commander's mandibles twitched. He realized the boy was right. The humans weren't here to destroy them. Not yet. They were here to remind them, remind the galaxy of what had been forgotten. On the homeworld's debates turned into chaos. Some leaders screamed for an immediate strike to destroy the battleship before it could call reinforcements. Others argued it was too late. No fleet could stand against what had just returned. And still, in the silence of space, the human ship waited, watching, observing, judging. The galaxy had become arrogant. The galaxy had grown soft. But humans had returned from the dark, and they had not forgotten how to build war. The alien commander lowered his head, his strength draining away. He finally understood. The humans weren't making first contact. They were making their return, and the galaxy trembled, not because of what was seen, but because of what was coming. The alien fleets hung in space like frightened birds before a storm. Every sensor locked onto the human battleship, every cannon primed, yet none dared to fire. The silence pressed harder with each passing hour until fear turned into desperation. Finally, one alien admiral broke. His fleet, smaller but proud, surged forward. His voice boomed across the comms. "Enough of this. We are not prey to be watched. Fire." The order cracked across the void, and 100 alien cruisers opened fire. Bright lances of energy and missile trails streaked through the blackness, racing toward the human battleship. The galaxy held its breath. The first wave hit. Explosions wrapped around the battleship's hull. Fire lit the stars. For a moment, hope surged in the alien ranks. Maybe it was only a relic. But then, the smoke cleared. The ship still drifted forward, untouched, unbroken. Its black armor shimmered with strange, shifting light. Whatever shields it carried were beyond alien understanding. And then, with slow, deliberate movement, the battleship responded. One cannon lit, just one. The shot was not rushed, not frantic. It fired as if a giant had grown bored with gnats. A beam of light carved across the void and an entire alien fleet vanished. Hundreds of ships, thousands of lives, erased in a single breath. The watching Admirals froze in terror. This was not war. This was annihilation. Across the stars, broadcasts erupted. Civilians, leaders, and warriors watched as footage of the destruction spread faster than light. Holoscreens replayed the moment endlessly. Alien fire blazing, the battleship enduring, and then the single, merciless strike. Entire planets whispered the same words. The humans are back. On the alien flagship, silence crushed the crew. The commander who had ordered caution gripped his console, his mandibles shaking. He had seen battles before, but nothing like this. The humans had fired once, only once, and it had been enough. Yet the battleship did not pursue. It did not finish the survivors. Instead, it drifted again into stillness, its weapons quiet. The alien crew trembled. "Why stop?" one officer asked, his voice thin. "Why spare them?" The commander knew the answer, though he could barely speak it. They wanted us to see, double quotes, yes, that was the truth. The humans had not come to destroy. They had come to remind, to show the galaxy a glimpse of what slumbered in the dark. Meanwhile, far away, alien councils erupted into chaos. Some demanded immediate surrender before more ships arrived. Others swore vengeance, rallying fleets to strike before humanity revealed its true numbers. But none could deny the truth. Every eye in the galaxy now turned to the battleship. Every people, every race, every system watched the silent colossus in fear and awe. And then came the whisper, a faint signal intercepted across a dozen sectors. It was human in origin. It was not a demand. It was not a threat. It was a message. "We are awake." The words spread like fire. Worlds shook. Armies froze. Old legends resurfaced. Long ago, humans had been warriors who fought until the stars themselves burned. The galaxy had forgotten, but now the galaxy remembered. In hidden bunkers, alien leaders argued if they should kneel or fight. In secret war rooms, plans were drawn to unite species that had hated each other for centuries, because now all of them feared a single ship. And still, the battleship drifted, silent, patient, watching on the flagship. The alien commander stood tall, though fear gnawed at his bones. He turned to his officers. "This is not the beginning of a battle," he said. His voice carried the weight of truth. "This is the beginning of a war." The crew lowered their heads. None dared to speak. The void outside felt heavier than ever, as though the stars themselves had grown dim under the shadow of the human ship. The galaxy had heard the whisper, but deep inside they all knew one thing. The whisper was only the start. The galaxy had witnessed destruction. One shot, one single breath from the human battleship had erased a fleet that once terrorized entire sectors. Yet after the fire came silence again. The massive ship drifted, quiet and unreadable, like a predator that had killed only to prove it could. Across alien command decks, fear gave way to whispers. Could there be more? Was this just the first of many? Were there entire fleets of these? Monsters waiting beyond the dark? But no one dared to ask the greater question, why? The answer arrived not in fire, but in a voice. It began as static, a faint tremor across communication relays. At first, alien crews dismissed it as noise. Then, the static sharpened into words, human words, harsh, simple, and unbroken by time. "We are awake." The phrase repeated again and again, until every fleet, every colony, every world heard it. The sound of a human voice, steady as iron, rolled across the stars. Entire alien councils fell. Silent. Families gathered around holoscreens. Warriors froze, their weapons forgotten. The words carried no anger, no mercy, only certainty. On one alien flagship, the admiral gripped the arms of his command chair, his throat dry. After centuries, they speak, but the message was not finished. The voice deepened, strong and unshaken by the silence it commanded. We were forgotten. We were erased from your records. You told your children that humanity was gone, but we endured. We built in silence. We sharpened ourselves in the dark, and now we return not as prey, but as the storm gasps broke across control rooms. Even hardened soldiers felt their blood run cold. This was not arrogance. This was fact. On distant worlds, alien leaders argued desperately. Some demanded surrender at once. Others swore to unite their fleets and strike before humanity revealed its full strength. But none could hide the tremor in their voices, for deep inside they all knew the truth. The galaxy had mocked humanity's extinction, and now the galaxy was trembling because the humans had returned. Meanwhile, the battleship drifted closer to alien space. Its lights glowed like the eyes of a titan. Every sensor struggled to measure its size, its energy, its weapons. But no alien mind could fully comprehend it. The ship felt less like a machine and more like a god. Then the voice returned, this time colder. Do not mistake silence for weakness. Do not mistake patience for mercy. We remember. The words spread like fire. Old stories resurfaced to tales of wars so brutal that even galaxies trembled. Legends told of humans who fought until the void itself turned red. For generations, aliens had dismissed them as myths, exaggerations from a primitive age. But now, hearing the voice, seeing the battleship, the myths no longer felt like stories. They felt like warnings. Across the galaxy, fear turned into something else. Division. Some races swore loyalty to humanity at once, desperate to survive under their shadow. Others clenched their fists, whispering of vengeance, vowing to stand against this death-world species. And others simply fell into silence, waiting, watching, trembling. Yet still, the battleship did not fire again. It did not conquer. It did not invade. It only hovered, its presence heavier than any war. And then came the most chilling revelation of all. A new signal pulsed from the Shipan image. Alien leaders watched as it filled their screens. Maps of the galaxy highlighted with hundreds of systems. Systems they thought were empty. Systems long abandoned. Systems where, now, humanity had returned. The admiral on the flagship whispered what all were thinking. They were never gone. The galaxy shook. This was not a rebirth. This was not a return. Humanity had been waiting all along, hidden, silent, preparing. And now, for the first time in centuries, they had chosen to be seen in that moment. The truth settled like a weight no one could escape. The battleship was not a messenger of war. It was a messenger of judgment. The galaxy had forgotten humanity. But humanity had not forgotten the galaxy. The galaxy did not sleep that night. Across star systems, skies glowed with the shimmering haze of holoscreens as alien. Populations watched the same broadcast over and over. The human battleship hung in the void, a silent giant against the stars, while its voice echoed in endless replay. We are awake. We remember, fear had always existed in the galaxy. Wars came and went, Empires rose and fell, but never before had entire civilizations trembled at the thought of a single ship. This was not just a machine of war, it was a promise of something greater, something unstoppable. On one alien homeworld, leaders met in panic. Generals slammed their fists against tables, demanding retaliation. But their voices cracked as they shouted, and their eyes betrayed them. They knew the truth. Retaliation would not bring victory. Retaliation would bring extinction. Others begged for peace. Perhaps the humans only wish to be left alone, they argued. Perhaps we can survive if we bow our heads. But even as they spoke, everyone knew this was not about survival anymore. This was about judgment. The humans had been silent for centuries. They had vanished into myth, dismissed as weak, primitive, gone. And now, by revealing themselves, they had shifted the balance of the galaxy forever. The battleships shadow on distant colonies. Alien children asked their parents why the humans had returned. The parents had no answer. Some whispered that humanity was here to reclaim what had been stolen. Others muttered that humans had never truly left. They had always been watching, always preparing. The battleship did not move. It did not invade. But the silence it carried was louder than any fleet. For in that silence was a question: what comes next? Divided reactions across the stars. Empires fractured under the weight of fear. Some governments declared loyalty to the humans at once, sending transmissions of surrender before humanity even asked. They promised resources, fleets, entire worlds, anything to avoid the battleship's wrath. Others grew bold in their terror, rallying their people with fiery words. "We will not bow to the Deathworlders," they cried. "We will unite and strike them down." Yet behind closed doors, even their bravest commanders trembled, remembering how one human blast had erased a fleet that once ruled the stars. A third group remained silent. They watched, they waited. They knew humanity was patient, and patience was often deadlier than war. The message in the dark then, another transmission came. It was not a voice this time, but a signal of stars, a map. Hundreds of points glowed across the galaxy, each representing a system thought empty or abandoned. Yet now, each point pulsed with human life. The revelation hit harder than any weapon. Humanity had not returned from nothing. Humanity had been here all along. Colonies hidden in the dark. Armies trained in silence. Fleets constructed in forgotten sectors. The battleship was not alone. It was the herald of an empire rebuilt in shadows. An alien council leader collapsed into his chair as the truth consumed him. "They never disappeared," he whispered. "We only stopped looking." The human promise at last. The voice returned. Calm, cold, final. "You thought us gone. You called us broken. You erased us from your histories. But we endured. We sharpened ourselves in silence. And now we stand again, not for conquest, not for empire, but for justice." Those words spread like wildfire. To some, they were hope. To others, they were doom. But to all, they were undeniable. Humanity was not offering peace. Humanity was not offering war. Humanity was offering judgment. The trembling future in the months that followed, the galaxy reshaped itself around the shadow of the battleship. Trade routes shifted, alliances broke, armies crumbled before battles were even fought. Not a single shot was fired by the humans. Yet their presence changed everything. The galaxy trembled not because of what humans did, but because of what they might do. Every star system now lived with a single thought: if this is only one ship, How many more are waiting? The future was uncertain. The galaxy could kneel or resist, unite or collapse. But one truth stood unshaken, echoing across every world, every fleet, every heart. Humanity had returned, and the galaxy would never stop trembling again.